Thank you very much for the invitation. Some of you know, and the rest of you that don't, I will now confess, I'm a new girl on the block and I know nothing about this area. I've started my job in September and my whole summer holiday was ruined by preparing for it. And some of the stuff I was reading about regulation in these areas that you are concerned about made me think that there is a long way to go in terms of what the regulators need to know about the basic science and the basic risks that we are trying to mitigate and regulate. And the other key word that was coming up in my reading, the cross-sectoral word, is toxicity. And we don't know enough about that. So I actually know that what you are doing is essential to future progress, and in terms of helping the regulators, which I am one of, in a way, match the gap between what it is we are actually doing now and what the public actually expects us to do. So there's a long way to go there. So this SURAT initiative is unique. People have emphasized the uniqueness of it, this public-private partnership dimension of it. And let me underline again how special that is. It was, I think, very innovative to have that cross-sectoral approach. It's certainly the way to go for the future. Very innovative to have the public policymakers working with the industry. Certainly the way we need to go for the future. The whole point about innovation is that we need to be flagging that if we don't involve industry with the scientists, we will not move towards innovation, because innovation is what happens towards or near or in the marketplace. So this vehicle of public-private partnership is in itself a way to help deliver more innovation in science, I think. And also the financial leveraging dimension. As a former accountant, I'm going to underline that as well. We have a lot of money at European level devoted to research, but no money is ever enough money when we have so many unfulfilled requests from our public. So leveraging is really, really important. The animal testing dimension of this is, of course, extraordinarily political as well. And the 2015 citizen initiative of Stop Vivisection, that was signed by more than 1 million people, Ruxandra already underlined it. And this public interest in animal testing is not going to go away. I'm interested in it, in my personal perspective. I'm sure many of you are as well. So we actually have to, legally, the Lisbon Treaty says that, aspire to very high animal welfare standards. But also in terms of industry acceptance, there is a consumer expectation that the industries are working towards eliminating all animal testing where this is possible. But of course, at the same time, like Ruxandra says, we have this political paradox that for human health, we have increasingly high expectation of what the industry needs to deliver and an increasingly low tolerance of risk, even for innovative and health-giving new products. So there is a political paradox to manage here. So it's excellent, I think, that the cosmetics regulation has shown the way in regulatory terms to introduce a full animal testing and marketing ban. That is certainly the way to go. And I think the other very good dimension is that that very top-down political decision has actually led to more innovation by the industry. You are leading the way. You are international leaders because of that regulatory push. The other dimension is perhaps REACH. So the REACH regulation has introduced the principles of the 3 Rs that we're talking about today. And testing on vertebrate animals is only allowed as a last resort. So it does mean that the European Chemicals Agency has to assess whether the last resort principle is actually there in terms of the work that it's assessing. But the good news is, and there is some good news, is that there's been a significant increase of alternative methods in some areas. My staff tell me that, for example, between 2011 and 2013, the number of in vitro tests to provide information on skin and eye irritation, for example, has tripled. So that regulatory push, again, is producing its effect. But I think that the issue about validation of testing methods and also the internationalization of this work may need a little bit more attention from us. And if you have any constructive suggestions as to how we might do that, I'm willing to listen to it. And we need to not just look at what we're doing now, we've got to look at complexity and what is happening in basic and applied research, and we have to look at pharmaceuticals, and we have to look at the chemicals world in general. So we have said quite clearly that the European Commission is committed to research in this area. You have set the way in terms of modelling what we're going to do for the future, I think. But the other dimension that's important to underline in the context of the work that is in the room today is that work done by the European Partnership for Alternative Approaches to Animal Testing, so the EPAA. So this, in a way, political clustering as well. This is a voluntary collaboration platform. It was initiated, at least co-initiated by the European Parliament. And it is at the same time as the scientific work dedicated to bringing forward the, I would say, the political aspects of developing and promoting alternative approaches to animal testing. So this is a clustered approach that involves the European Commission, the European trade associations, and again, companies from 7 different industry sectors. And you realize, I think, that the European Parliament is leading that work, in effect, politically leading that work. And the 10th anniversary conference was held just last week. So I think that parallelism of involving the political people in the work that is going forward is also essential. Because what are we talking about here? We're talking about consumer safety and human health. We're talking about aspects of regulation that are at the core of all politicians' interests. So we have to square the issue of more science, terrible suspicion and paranoia, and political acceptance of scientific approaches. So that has to be an extraordinarily transparent and inclusive and collaborative approach. And I encourage you to carry on what you're doing at the moment, because frankly, it's really excellent work. Thank you very much.